This segment looks at the custom tab. On here, you can right-click on the custom tab name itself and add additional custom Excel tabs, duplicate an existing tab, delete an existing tab, rename or rearrange any of the existing tabs. For example, I can right-click on the custom tab name and do an add custom Excel, and you see an additional tab being added. And you can keep adding as many as you wish. Now back to this tab, for example, you see a sample data set here which I've copied and pasted from Microsoft Excel. And you see that, for example, in column A, the width is a little bit narrow. You can hover over some of this text here and it will do a tooltip pop-up. Or you can click on the grid and do a auto fit column, and you will auto fit everything that's on here automatically. Or alternatively, you can change the default width from 70 pixels to anything that you want to. So that should resolve your grid view issue. You can also click on view full grid, and when you click on view full grid, what happens is there will be an additional pop-up, and this will be outside of PEAT. And because of the resolution of the video, you can't really see the whole thing, but it will be shown as a full screen, and you can do the same implementations as you would in here within the PEAT environment. So that's a very simple way to do it. For example, if I do not want this custom XLS 0, I can just go in here, right click on the header and say delete custom Excel sheet, and that will be taken care of. Now, let me show you how you would copy and paste from an existing Microsoft worksheet. So let's just say this is my existing Microsoft data worksheet or model that I have. Notice I have data from A1, cell A1, all the way to F6 in this case. And notice that the numbers that are entered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are actual numbers or numerical inputs, and everything else have an equation to it. So equals A1 plus 10, for instance. So now I can do two things. I can either copy and paste just the data, or I can copy and paste the model into PEAT. So let me show you the first approach. If I select the data here, I can right click and simply go to copy. Alright, in here, or just do a Control C, and you see the mark key on here. Now go to the PEAT environment, into the custom worksheet, and all I need to do is right click and do a paste, or just do a Control V, same thing. And what you see is numerical results being copied over. So you see in cell A2 it's the number 11 as compared to the original worksheet, which is an equation equals A1 plus 10. And the reason for that is I just did a simple copy paste. Now alternatively, let me increase or change this as an additional custom sheet to a new custom sheet, just to illustrate how this will work if I were to copy the model in. So before you can copy the model in, what you see is what you get. That's the Microsoft paradigm. So what we see here are numerical results. So if you want the equations to be copied in, i.e. the model, first things first, you need to hold on to the Control key and hit the tilde on your keyboard. The tilde is this little squiggly line that's typically to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard, or above the tab key on your keyboard. So hold on the Control key and do a tilde. What that does is it will toggle between a numerical input and also the equation in this case. So if you do a Control tilde again, it will change it back to your numerical or normal view. You do a Control tilde one more time, you get this equation view. Now that you get an equation view, I'll reselect the data here. I'll do a Control C or copy, and then back here I'll do a Control V or just a right click paste. In this case, same situation. And now same results that you see as we saw previously. However, if I click on cell A2, you see that this is A1 plus 10. So there are now live equations in the custom PEAT worksheet. So for example, if I change this to the number 10 and click away from it, notice that the results of course update in this case. Well, change it back to number 1 and you see it updates because there are equations here. So the custom worksheet in PEAT supports multiple main functions, the most used functions, if you will. So things like addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, the power of. If you want to see the full list, other than the basic mathematical operators which is supported, you can click on the FX button and you see a list of functions. Not everything in Excel will be implemented here, but these are the main functions that 99% of the people will be using, and it's supported here, for example. So just to illustrate how you can manually enter your equation, I can go to a cell, say A8, click on function and select, let's say, the average. I would click OK, and you see average. So I can type in average of, say, A1 to colon A6. If I click away from it, and you see the average is 26, and it's calculated based off the column of data in this case. So the other thing that you can actually do as well is rename the tab. You can click on here, click on right click, rename custom tab, and let's say we're in custom tab here, XLS2, and I can rename it to my model, whatever you wish, and click OK, and you say my model. Now in parentheses you see the XLS2, XLS1, and so forth. These are internal memorized names, if you will, and that's something that you cannot change, and I will show you why in a minute. However, you can change the regular name by right-clicking and doing a rename. So, for example, if I want to link, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my input, this is my scratch calculation that critical to my model, for example, and I'll select these 6 cells, and I will right-click and do a link to. And so when you click away from those cells that you've selected, you see this marquee that's flashing. What it does is it tells you that that's the latest and greatest that you've copied or did a link to. Now I'll go to my model, whatever model that I wish, and let's say I need my data to be pasted here, so for the 6 cells. So I can select the 6 cells or just the first cell, doesn't matter. But for completeness sake, I'll just do all 6 cells. Right click on here and do a link from, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And notice that if I hover over this, it should say XLS2, which corresponds to the internal name here, XLS2, and it's cell A1, B1, C1, and so forth, 1 to 6. If I go back to XLS2, and the reason why we do XLS2 is because you have the option to change the name on my model. For instance, if I right click on here and I rename this to her model instead of my model, that should be fine as well, because the XLS2 still remains. If I hover over it, it's still XLS2. Now if I come in here and make the modification, let's say it changes to 10, 20, 30, and keep the 4, 5, 6 just for grins. I go back here and you see 10, 20, 30, 4, 5, 6, so there's a live link. Now if you decide not to have that link, or you made a mistake, say on this cell right here, I can select the cell, right click on it, and remove the link from, and the link is gone in this case. So a yellow highlighted cell indicates, or you can hover over it just to make sure, indicates that there is a link to and a link from. And you can do as many link tos and froms as you wish. So if I do a second link to and from, so I'll do a link to now, and you see that the latest and greatest has the marquee on here. And I'll come back here and notice that the link is still here from the first link. And say I need a second link that's on this cell, starting from this cell, I can do a link from, and you see 60, 70, 80. And it will tell you what the cell locations are. And again, you can go in here, make some modifications, 1, 2, and 3. Let's say we override that, and you would see 1, 2, 3 here, and your original link is on here. So you can do multiple link to and link from as you wish, and the link will be automatically executed from the custom tab to the option tab, and you can rename that at some point, rearrange that location. So for example, her model comes before custom 1 and custom and so forth. You can do that as well. So some of these notes are on here, so make sure you review this. It says, for example, control tilde in Excel, so it's control tilde, then you do a copy paste, will bring the Excel functions over there like we saw previously. Now what I'll do next, or finally, is to add another custom tab here, and I will show you another methodology of doing a link. So what I want to do at this point is create a file, and I'll save this file. I'll do a save, and it's called myexcelfile.xlsx, and save on my desktop. So let's say this is my model, my calculation, my model, and it's saved in an Excel file under sheet 1, and it's from A1 all the way to F6. Now if I close this Excel file, that file is of course gone, but in here what I can do is create a live link from that Excel model that I've created, the data and so forth, and link it into my custom worksheet. So all I need to do is click on Excel, this Excel link, and you can add, by the way, as many links as you want. So I can link 5, 10, 20 Excel worksheets and different workbooks, into one or two or multiple custom worksheets, work tabs in PEAT. So first of all, there's nothing set up. So what I can do is I can click on Add, Browse, and I'll browse it to my Excel file in this case. And there are 3 worksheets on here, so we know that it was from worksheet 1. And if you recall, I believe it was from A1 all the way to F6. That's your Excel range. So you have the Excel workbook, the Excel worksheet, the Excel range, or cells in this case, so from and to. You can have custom calculations, starting cells. So custom calculations is the custom worksheet. So you can paste it anywhere you want. In this case, it's always a good idea to link it to the same location, right? Especially if you're copying and pasting equations that you saw previously. So if you copied it from cell A1 to F6, and if you paste it to a different location in the custom worksheet, custom tab, then the equations won't work because, you know, the original Excel worksheet says A1 plus A2 plus A3. The recommendation is to copy and paste to the same location, and it's just good practice for you to do that. So we'll just say starting cell A1. So in the custom sheet, paste it from A1 as well, and it knows how far to do the copy paste. You can give it a link name. You can change it to whatever you want, especially important if you have multiple links to multiple worksheets, and put some notes if you want to as well, just to remind you of what it is that you're looking at. I'll click OK, and there's your link right there. If you click on it, it tells you link to custom calculations location A1. It tells you, you know, the file and so forth. Now you can add as many saved links as you want to. The default is that there is an auto update the links when your project file opens. So the next time you open PEAT and you do a file open and you open this file, what it does is it will go out and look at all the Excel files and bring in all the links and update the links. And that's especially helpful. And the recommendations, of course, you know, keep that turned on. The other thing that you have to be careful about as well is that you see the Excel file here has a specific location, C:\users all the way to desktop and the file name. So what it does is it remembers the file name and it remembers the location, the path of the file name. So the first location it looks at would be the absolute location, the C:\, wherever you saved that file when you did the linking. If it does not find that file, what it does is it goes and it finds a relative folder location. What that means is, you know, where you save the ROV project econ file. So let's say the PEAT model, let's say you're emailing it to a friend or emailing it to a colleague, and you're emailing both the Excel file and the PEAT model. The PEAT file itself called ROV project econ. Just as long as both files are in the same location, same relative folder, then it will be able to find it as well. Okay, so that is helpful. So absolute addressing and relative addressing of the path file name. So in this case, let's say I'm done. I'll click OK. And by the way, you can edit, delete, or add as many links as you want. And what it does is it will go in and find a file, and you see a link in this case. So that's the model that I have. Now notice that the link is just linking from Excel, and therefore there are no equations here because Excel does the math for you. There's really no need to do a linking of the equation. Previously we saw the linking of the equation when you do a control tilde and then you copied the whole model and you paste it in here so that the model is live. In this case we did an Excel link, and notice that the font also goes from black to blue in this case by definition. A blue font indicates as a live link from Excel. Alright, and so in this case we have an update 1, 2, 3 all the way to column, actually cell F6. So if I go back to Excel, if I happen to have that file opened, and let's say I change this to 10, 20, 30, and so forth, and let's just update the file in this case. When you update the file is still open. Make sure you save the file. Of course, if you don't save the file, nothing's gonna get updated. And let's say the file is closed at some point, and so this is still linked to the original data set. So you can do a couple of things. You can click on refresh links, or go to Excel and click OK. It will do the same refresh. So in this case, I'll just click on refresh links, and notice that it updates based on the latest and greatest that you have in the XLS file that you saved. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so forth. Alright, again, if you link from Excel, There are no equations or functions because you are saying, Excel, please do the math for me. So we're just linking, we're sucking in the data from Excel, and Excel does the computations. As compared to a control tilde, and you copy and paste data in, it will have the equations listed in here. Or just a simple copy paste, and you see that everything will be just simple data sets and so forth. All right. Very easy to use. Key is to go in there and play around with it. In future versions and upgrades and so forth, we will have, or we will add additional functionalities. But again, these are, I would say, 90-10 rule. So most of the folks will be using the equations as here, functions as here, and also the mathematical operators, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, power, multiplication, and so forth. So it should be sufficient for you at this point.